Hey, JJ with Millwork Pros. Today I'm gonna make a 3-tiered pull-out unit for a pantry cabinet, 16 inches wide, 40 inches tall, 21 inches deep. I'm using 1/2-inch thick Baltic birch plywood for my sides and my front and my back, and 1/4-inch plywood for the bottoms. It's going to be a 3-tiered unit that will consist of 3 storage spaces. As soon as we get started here, I'll kind of run through my parts and my materials. But before we do, please hit that like, subscribe button, and thanks for tuning in. All right, so this is the 1/2-inch thick Baltic birch plywood. I've already ripped my strips to 3 5/8 of an inch wide and cut them to 20 inches long. Next thing that I'll do, I will run them through the router table to give them a finish on the top and the bottom. And that way there's no sharp edges for the customer to get splinters or cut themselves on. So I will run through that process now. Okay, next thing I do after I cut my strips at 3 5/8 and do my round over on 3 sides of each piece, I have to set up my dado blade so that I can cut my 1/4-inch dado in my sides of each tier. And I use the Diablo dado blade kit. It's actually a pretty good kit. Had this one for a few years. You can resharpen them. It goes everywhere from 1/4-inch all the way up to a little bit over 3/4, I believe. But does a great job for all my drawers and any cabinet parts, stuff like that. So yeah, the Diablo by Freud dado blade kit, I think it was a couple $100, but it's a great kit. Okay, so I've had to cut 36 side pieces. And, this is what 36 side pieces looks like. 1/2-inch thick Baltic birch, 3 3/8 wide. Did a 1/4-inch wide dado set. Set my table saw at 1/2 inch and went a 1/4-inch deep for the dados. And that is to make it so that the bottom that bears all the weight doesn't blow out through the bottom of the drawer. Okay, so for this 3-tiered unit, I want to make it out into 3 equal spaces so that we can have maximize the storage space. So since these are my sides, they will sit in front like this, and then there will be 3 of them. So I have one here, roughly there, and then right there, and so forth. So the way that I lay it out is I try to divide this into 3 equal parts. Now it is 39 3/8, so that's pretty easy. That's 13 1/8 for each third. So that means that should be the bottom of each piece. The reason that I have to lay this out not only is for assembly, but so that I can run a 1/4 inch dado in these two to hold the bottoms of the drawers as well. So what I'll do, I will line this up and flush it up on the bottom, and I will give myself a mark on where I need my dado. And then I will do the same thing on each mark that I made. So that way, when I set my table saw with my dado, I have measurements to go off of. And if I'm off by a 32nd of an inch or something like that, it's really not the end of the world. But I just want to make sure that I'm as close as possible. So that's how I lay it out, and then I will take it to the table saw and cut my dados. Okay, so my next step is I gotta cut my 1/4 inch bottoms for my drawers or each tier of the pullout. So I start off by ripping it down to 15 7/8 of an inch wide by the full length. And then I will cut my lengths to about 20 7/16 long for each piece. And the reason that I go 20 7/16 instead of 20 1/2, I like to have a little bit of clearance in there so it's not too tight. That way I can make sure all the assembly goes smooth. And then I will usually follow it up with some hot glue to make sure that bottom stays in place on each tier of the pullout. Okay, so now I've got all my parts. I've got my top of my unit, which is 16 3/8 by 20 by 20. Yeah, those are my bottoms that I just cut, the 15 7/8 by 20 1/2. The reason that they're a little bit bigger or longer than my tops and my sides is because with the 1/4 inch dado, it goes into the front and back pieces by 1/4 of an inch. This is my front and back pieces with my 1/4 of an inch dado. And this is all set up so that I have 3 tiers in each pullout. So now I will begin my assembly. All right, so for the assembly, I'm gonna go ahead and use 1-inch staples. And the reason that I'm gonna use staples is because you're not gonna ever see the front because the door will attach permanently to the front of the pullout. And the back of the pullout will be inside of the cabinet, so no one will ever get around to take a look in there. So I'm comfortable using 1-inch staples. They're 18 gauge staples. They're just kind of like this. Pick them up at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever you get your nails and screws from. So I'm going to go ahead and use those when I put the front and backs and sides together for my assembly on this pullout here.